So we're picking up where we left off in Don Quixote. We finished on page like 424, and I just wanted you to finish the chapter. And this is a new man who has arrived. Is that what it is? And they want him to arrest Sancho? No, tell me what's happening, I don't remember. I know there's a man talking to the priest, but what is it?
I thought it was something about like the books.
Yes, he says, I'm familiar with those books, and then they go back and forth, and this guy is saying, those books on chivalry, it's prejudicial to the Commonwealth. In other words, it's not good for people to read books that are so fantastical, because there aren't actually dragons to fight, there aren't actually these magnificent people who do these great feats, and to make people think that this is the way the world works or the way that it could work, that's not good for people to believe this nonsense. Yeah, every once in a while it's nice for us to kick our feet up and listen to a story that couldn't possibly be true, but to have any sort of focus on them or belief in them is absolutely ridiculous. Why is this 500 pages in? Why is Cervantes bringing this stuff up?
I want to say the Bible with like all the miracles and stuff. It's like fantastical to people outside of it. Like, why would you read it? Because that can't happen.
There is a old warrior in Front Royal who, you know how when people have a lot of time and they get on a kick, there's a man who's on a kick, and his kick is this. Young people in the regular workaday world in the Catholic Church, young people are falling away from the faith at a rate much higher than before we accepted that evolution was an idea that could work, as long as you say that God himself created things in the beginning. He says that there's a relationship between believing in evolution and falling away from the faith. Why would that be? And in fact, there is data that supports what he is saying. Why would that be? Because it pretty much takes God out of the equation. This is the millions and millions of years, shoved God way down there, way down the line, millions of years ago. Do you care about millions of years ago, Nina? No, you don't. God started it all, that's fine. But really, it all evolved naturally. If it evolves naturally, who's not in the equation? God. If God is not in the equation on how things develop, why should God be in the equation on how you develop? Because really, I'm telling you, this is a true story, and I know I've told you before, so forgive me. I'm like 26, I get asked out on a date with the older brother of a friend of mine. The older brother of a friend of mine, so he's like this successful business, he's like 30, successful businessman, went to yada yada wherever, I don't think it was Princeton, but some, right? And of course, you know, me and my weather talk. No, I don't talk about the weather, I'm like instantly, boom, here we are. And he's like, so, yeah, on the first date, that'd be me. And he says, wait, you mean you believe that creation story in the Bible? And he laughed at me. He laughed at me, and I'm like, yeah, I do. I believe every word of it. And he's like, how? And I said, the same way I believe 2 + 2 is 4. And I went like this. And I told you what he said, right? Do you know that scientifically it's proven that 2 + 2 actually isn't 4 when you, and he goes on like, I don't know, some quantum physics kick. And I looked at him and I said, this isn't gonna. He laughed at me when I told him I believed the biblical story of creation. He laughed at me because it's too fantastic to believe.
Did his brain get injured? Something?
No, my brain was injured for being so simple and so silly as to believe the words written in the Bible literally. He laughed at me, like mocked me, laughed at me. And I'm sitting here going, like, 1, 2, 3. I think I got it. No, you don't, you retard. He laughed at me. So I tell you that all of this new biblical exegesis and this and that and everything else, guess what we're doing? We're chasing the supernatural right out the door. Bye-bye. That's so stupid for you to think that there's such a thing as grace. That's so stupid. What do you think you're gonna do on your little beads? You think that saying prayers on beads is gonna change the election? Well, actually, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Now, our author was at the Battle of Lepanto. On paper, there's no way. There's no way, no matter how skilled the general, no matter how, there's no way that the Turks didn't win Lepanto. There's no way. Right? So, I ask you, in 2024, ladies and gentlemen, if someone asked you to project your parenting style, are you gonna let your kids read fairy tales?
Yes.
Are you gonna let your kids believe in fantastical things? Yes? Why?
Because
It
they
helps
are
them believe.
It
real.
helps them believe, and it's also easier to explain.
I don't know.
Actually, to the end, then you don't have to deal with them crying and they just forget it. They realize the Easter Bunny is real, but then they also get the mystical part where they think that Easter Bunny is real. So it's a win-win.
As soon as the evil of the Protestant Revolution took hold, the suppression of the supernatural began. Up till then, there was one Christian faith. It was Catholicism. Catholicism that believed in miracles. A pope who had, in order to solve a political problem, had his people say the rosary. Yeah? Once you introduce me, my faith alone, and the Bible, however I read it, you take out the middleman, which is Christ, mediating grace, and his church, which takes care of all of the supernatural that's supposed to go to you through the sacraments. You don't need the sacraments. You don't need mass. You don't need anything supernatural. It's just you and God. And no intermediary. That's what the Protestant revolt started. And the reason that you have children today thinking that they don't have to be the sex that God made them, that they don't have to follow commandments, that they can, then my mind goes to the thing that I won't tell you that happened in our middle school. All of that is because God has been taken out of the equation and there's no supernatural. So anything goes, right? Cervantes understood all of that the second it started. And so he puts in here this crazy man who's trying to do things the way they used to, or the way it is in the books. And he believes in knights, and he believes in justice, and he believes in his lady Dulcinea, and he believes that people can be elevated from where they are right now. He believes all this stuff, and through the whole book we're calling him a madman. And he is. Sometimes, in some ways, he absolutely is. And he still needs to be balanced. Yeah? On the other hand, we have Sancho, who just wants his dinner and a soft bed, and he doesn't want to get beat up. Can we get that too? So we've got like the soul side and we've got the body side, and we are a combo. But I'm telling you that this is pertinent to you today, because you will be laughed out of the room if you say that you believe that the rosary can change the election and that Christ is king of everyone, everywhere. Not just of your own little heart because you chose it, right? It doesn't matter if it's possible right now. Oh yeah, yes, of course Christ is king. Yes, of course he is. Yes. But you have to understand that in the world in which we live and the people that we're dealing with, you can't really, it's not going to be effective if you go and just say that. What? Don't water down the truth. The truth is the truth is the truth. Christ is king. And suddenly you have Candace Owens saying it out loud and getting in trouble for it, but she's doubling down. Christ is king of everyone. And when a celebrity says it, imagine the power that she wields. Wow. It doesn't matter if you think it can become a reality for everyone right now. The truth is the truth is the truth. And a Don Quixote's like, it's how it should be. I understand it's not that way. Sancho's like, but sir, you're gonna get your teeth kicked in if you say it. Sir, as your helper, I'm gonna get tossed in a blanket. And that's not a fun thing, right?
So the body gets 100 because of what the soul does.
Yeah. So it's not random that this is all being talked about, because the learned people are the ones saying, oh, this just ridiculous. You can't, it's actually harmful to the people. To be having them reading these fantastical things, they're going to get ideas in their head about Christ being king of the world. Oh, you can't, yes, your own heart, of course, yes, please. But no, that's not. Our exegesis has come to the point where we just need to not, talk about the miracle of creation. We just need to. Chapter 48, in which the canon pursues the subject of books of chivalry and other matters worthy of his genius. Yeah, it's the canon. Okay, now, you know how Dante was a little rough on the clerics of his day?
Oh.
You know how Dante was a little rough on the clerics of his day? You remember he's putting popes in hell and all that? Remember that? Mm-hmm. We do know that there were many saints that rose up because of that God rose many saints up because of the Protestant Revolution to try to counter it. But there were others other like regular priests who wanted to go the way of the current thinking, which is always seems so elevated. So
that's what Graham's talking about. Bishops signed with what the king was telling to. There were like 40,000 priests and and then the Pope condemned it. Like said, oh, people will learn a lot of detail within their country.
This is the beginning of the French Revolution, right? So also you will see in England at the time of the Church of England being brought in, you will see that the majority of the higher ups went along with it, and it was the parish priests who were getting put to death because they refused to do the Book of Common Prayer. They're like, no, we're gonna keep doing the mass. Well, you're gonna be fined. We're gonna keep doing the proper mass. Well, you're gonna be jailed. We're gonna keep doing the proper mass. Well, you're gonna be killed. But the learned ones are the ones who are like, yeah, you really gotta just, there's new development, and you've got to, okay, so I do think, no, I'm could stand to be corrected, but it does feel like Cervantes is presenting us one of these genius churchmen who our priest, Don Quixote's priest seems to be agreeing with about the books. Oh yes, I did burn some of those books, yeah? Okay. Thomas, you're near the mic. 427.
What you say is true, Sir Canon, said the priest, and for that reason the writers of such books are most blameworthy, since up to now they have paid no attention to good sense or to the art and rules. For if they had been guided by them, they might have become as famous in prose as the two princes of poetry, Greek and Latin, are in verse. For my part, replied the canon, I have been somewhat tempted to write a book of chivalry, observing all the points I have mentioned. To tell you the truth, I have written more than 100 pages. To find out whether they came up to my opinion of them, I have shown them to learned and judicious men given to that kind of reading, and to the other ignorant men who merely want the pleasure of listening to nonsense, and I gained a flattering approval from them all. But for all that, I have not continued, because it seems to me a task unfitting to my profession, and because I found the ignorant were more numerous than the wise, and thought it better, and though it is better to be praised by the few wise and mocked by the many fools, I do not want to subject myself to the muddled judgment of the opinionated crowd, who are generally the most given to reading such books. But most instrumental in making me drop the task of finishing it, even from my thoughts, was an argument which I drew from those comedies that are being played nowadays. For I reflected, if those now in fashion, the fictitious ones and the historical as well, are all or most of them notorious nonsense, monsters without feet or head, and if, despite that, the crowd enjoys seeing them and approve of them and reckon them good, then they are so far from being so. And if the authors who write them and the managers who put them on say that they must be good because the crowd likes them, like that and not otherwise. And the authors who observe a plan and follow the story as the rules of drama require only serves to please 3 or 4 men of sense who understand, while all the rest are left unsatisfied and cannot fathom their subtlety. And since these managers add that it suits them better to earn their bread from the many that approve from the few, such would have been the fate of my book after I had scorched my eyebrows studying to keep the rules I spoke of. It would have been love's labor lost. On the lines I have tried to persuade the managers that their judgments are false, and that they would draw a bigger audience and get better reputations by playing comedies that follow the rules, instead of these extravagant pieces. But they are so bound and wedded to their opinion that they have no argument or proof that can move them from it. I remember saying to one of these obstinate fellows one day, tell me, do you remember how a few years ago they were playing 3 tragedies in Spain by a famous native poet? They were so good that they delighted, surprised, and amazed everyone who saw them. Learned and simple, the best people and the best crowd, and those 3 alone earned the players more money than 30 of the rest produced since. The manager I am speaking of replied, of course your worship means Isabella, Peleus, and Alexandria. Those it was I meant, I replied. Now did they keep carefully to the rules of drama, and did that prevent there being the success that they were pleasing everybody? So the fault is not in the public for demanding absurdities, but in people who cannot put anything else on the stage. For there is no absurdity in Literatura Avenge or in Numancia. You will not find any in the Merchant Lover, nor yet in the Friendly Enemy, nor in quite a few others written by various good poets for their own fame and glory, and to the profit of the players. I said, a good deal else as well, and I think I left him in some confusion, but not so satisfied nor convinced as to retract his mistaken opinions. We have touched on subjects we can in the precepts, and said the precepts, which were to me an old grudge I bear against the plays they act from day to day. It is as great as my grudge against books of chivalry, for though drama according to Tully should be a mirror to human life, a pattern of manners, and an image of truth, the plays that are performed nowadays are mirrors of absurdity, uttering for what greater absurdity can there be in our present subject than for a child to come on in the first scene of the first act, swaddling clothes, and then the second as a grown man with a beard?
Oh.
What could be more ridiculous than to paint us a valiant old man and a young coward, an eloquent servant, a statesman of light age, a king as a porter, and a princess as a scullery maid? And they pay no more regard to that place or the time in which their action is supposed to occur. I have seen a play whose first act opened in Europe, its second in Asia, and its third ended in Africa. And if there had been 4 acts, the fourth no doubt would have finished up in America. And so it would have been played in all 4 quarters of the globe. If imitation is the chief aim of the play, how is it possible to satisfy any average intelligence when an action pretends to take place in the time of King Pippin and Charlemagne? And yet they make the principal character in it the Emperor
Heraclius.
who enters Jerusalem bearing the cross and wins the Holy Sepulchre, like Godfrey de Bouillon. Though there was a whole age between the one event and the other, and when the comedy is based on a fictitious story, how can they introduce historical events into it and mix in incidents that happen to different people at different times, and even then with no attempt to add verisimilitude, but with obvious errors inexcusable on every count? The worst of it is that there are idiots who say that this stuff is perfect, and to look for anything else is to fish for your pinkies.
Okay, stop there. It's getting confusing. Yeah, why are they going on and on and on and on and on and on and on about books? Well, when was the Gutenberg Bible printed? The first thing ever printed?
16
That was
something.
1549. When was it? 50-ish years ago. So it's now the case that we can put books in everybody's hands. So he's talking about a story about how do we go and a baby in swaddling clothes to a man with a beard. Jesus. Who's gonna read a story like that? Why? It's not the case that everyone who reads something gets the same thing out of it. Okay? You can read Don Quixote and just think that it's a ridiculous story about a guy who goes to war with windmills, yes? Right? But if you're looking for it, we're finding a lot of substance underneath, right? You can read the Bible, say, and get interesting stories about the shepherd and the sheep, right? Or there can be a lot more to it. But is everyone going to read it and get the same thing out of it? Or understand the same thing? And so the danger, he's saying, is letting everyone loose with books. Because we let Don Quixote loose with books and look what happened. He went on a quest to become a knight and he's got this makeshift, what do you call it? Helmet. Yeah. And that's not good for him. He's had his head bashed in. So can you see what he's saying?
Yeah.
That just letting everybody loose without some understanding behind it, you're gonna get fantastical, ridiculous stories, and then why don't we just go back to the tragedies? Should we go back to just the tragedies? Saying, hey, tragedies follow the right rules and everyone understands them and everyone likes them. Why not just the tragedies? Why not just about sin and sadness? If that's all there is,
That's not real life.
say it again.
I said because that's not real life.
Do I see you again today? I see you again today at 10:25. See you at 10:25.
What do we have right now? Do they have geometry right now?
Geometry.